I'm Susan from Sunrise Quilt Studio, and today I wanted to do a video on threads and wanted to show you some of the threads that I use in my machine. And before I get into some of the details, I wanted to also point out that the threads that I use may be threads that you don't like, and that's fine. All of our machines have kind of their own personality, and there are threads that my machine likes real well that your machine may just not work well with, and that's just the nature of the machine. So I'll just go ahead and go on with the threads that I use. Now this is YLI, and this is their Longarm Professional line. This is a polyester thread, and it is 3-ply and it is 40 text, and this works really well in my machine. I don't have trouble with breakage, and there is very little lint built up in your bobbin from this thread. So this is one of my favorites, and I use this quite frequently. Comes in a wide range of colors, and it comes in 3,000 yard cones. Now my second favorite is Signature, and this is the 100% cotton line. And this is also a 40 text, and it is a 3-ply 100% cotton thread, and it has a little bit of a sheen to it, and it puts down a real pretty stitch. And this is the brand of thread that I started with when I first started quilting, so this is one of my favorites too. And I switch between these two quite frequently. This one will leave a little more lint in your bobbin than this one will, but the look is about the same, and I just go for whatever color I need. Whatever brand has the color I need for my quilt, that's what I go with. So there's not a whole lot of competition between the two. They're just two of my favorites, and I interchange them. The next thread here is another YLI. Excuse me. This is their quilting machine thread. This is 100% cotton, and it's a 40 text 3-ply cotton thread. This one is a little more fragile, and I have to make adjustments on my machine when I use this thread. I have to loosen the tension and slow down on my quilting, otherwise I have breakage. So there are things that I can do to get this thread to work well in my machine, and so I just, if this is the color I need, then I just make adjustments on my machine. Okay, this thread here is also Signature, and this is their variegated line, and this is 100% cotton, and it is also a 40 text 3-ply thread. And I use this a lot for art quilts. I don't use this very much on traditional quilts, but for my art quilts I will use a variegated thread. Okay, this is King Tut. This is also 100% cotton, and it is a 3-ply thread, and it's 40 text. And this comes in 2,000 yard cones. This one is a variegated. It's called sheaves. And the labels, most of the cones of any brand you get will have a label inside that tell you a little bit more information. It'll tell you what the thread is made of, and like on this one, this is by Superior Threads. And it'll tell you for your home machine what type of needle to use and what size, and on your long arm it'll tell you what type of needle to use. It says here to use an MR 4.0, which is number 18 or number 19. And so that's a big help when you use that. Okay, this is an unusual thread that you may not have thought to use, but this is Coats & Clark, and you can buy this at a fabric store. And I picked this up when I was working on a project, and I had no gray thread in my stash, and I really wanted to quilt, and I didn't want to have to wait to order something online, so I ran to the fabric store and looked for as big a cone as I could find of gray thread, and this is what I came up with. Now this one has a label that was on the bottom, and it's stuck inside here, and I can't get it out now, so I don't know exactly what this is made of, but it feels like a cotton thread, and I believe it's a 3-ply, probably another 40 weight. I just really can't tell. But I've used this on a couple of quilts, and works real fine. I don't have any trouble with breakage on it, so this is a good thread too. Now for a lighter weight thread, when I'm doing a quilt with heavy quilting in it like a whole cloth, I need a lightweight thread. And my preference is usually so fine. And I like this because it has a little bit of a tooth to it, and it holds up well in the needle. I don't have any breakage. This is by Superior Threads, and this is a polyester thread. And these cones come in 3,280 yard cones. And this is a 50 text, but it is a 3-ply thread. And so it's very fine, and it's very durable, and I use this thread a lot for whole cloth quilts, and it comes in a variety of colors. Now, also by Superior Threads is the Bottom Line, and you may have heard a lot about this one. This is the one I started out using when I started making whole cloth quilts. But what I found was that this one is a smoother, slicker thread, and it doesn't hold the knot as well. You have to be extremely diligent when you're tying off your threads, otherwise your knot won't hold and your quilting will unravel. And I found that out on a quilt, the first quilt that I made, that I wasn't tying off well enough for this thread. So if you use this thread, just watch it and see if it is trying to unravel on you. If it is, then you'll know to go back and quilt that section again, and just if you're doing the back and forth motion to tie off, the tacking motion, just make sure you've got that very secure before you break thread. And then this is Aurifil, and this is a 50 weight thread. It's by Mako, and it is 2-ply thread. Now this one I have the same issues that I do with the Bottom Line. You just have to be diligent on when you tie off. You have to make sure that is secure, otherwise it will unravel on you. These are my experiences. You may have a different experience, but this is my experience with it. Okay, now for some more specialty threads, I wanted to go over glide thread. This is a shiny polyester thread, and it comes in these big spools. There's by Filtech, and this is a 5,000 meter spool. And I like this when I'm wanting something to look kind of like metallic thread, but I don't want to use metallic thread. I will use this. And it comes in a lot of different colors, and it has a real pretty look. It's a 3-ply thread, and really good in art quilts, or even in just any quilt that you want a little bit of sheen to your quilting, but you don't want to put a metallic thread in it. And I put this sleeve on it. This is a thread sleeve, or thread sock they may be called, because the thread likes to pool down at the bottom of the cone while I'm quilting, and it'll fall right off this cone, and then it'll snag. So, and then it'll break, because it's not breaking at the needle, but it's breaking at the cone because it gets caught there. For metallic threads, these are the threads that I have tried. There's a variety here. This one is by Rheingold. This color is called Heavy Metal, and it's 50% polyester and 50% metal. Now the trick that I have found for any kind of metallic thread is that you have to keep your needle area well oiled, and that means stopping quite frequently and oiling that area, because your needle is going to get hot just from the friction of the metal in metallic threads. And when they get hot, then it breaks the polyester. It'll melt that polyester in the thread, and then your thread's going to break. So you need to be watchful of that, and also use a thread sock on it to help keep it from pooling down at the bottom. But this is a real pretty thread, and I've used this several times, and I really like the look of that. Another thread is by Signature. This is called SN Metallic. This is silver, and this came in a 1,000-yard spool. And I picked this up at a quilt show, and I've worked with this, and this works well too. Just the same issues with any metallic thread. You have to just be diligent about keeping your needle area well oiled so that you don't break the thread. the same brand as this one. I just have a gold and a silver in color. Okay, this one is American and Eford. This was a sample, and this is also signature. It's two different silver colors here, and this is a size 40, and it here on this label it says use a size 80 or 12 needle, so that's a nice indication on, good information on this one. Okay, and then here's another one you may have not thought about, and this is by Gutermann. This is their metallic thread, and this is made for just your home machine, but I was doing a quilt that I needed a lot of different colors of metallic, and once again I didn't want to wait for it to ship in, so I ran to the fabric store and picked up a handful of these, and they work pretty good. This is one that I had to adjust needle tension. In fact, with all metallic threads, I've had to loosen the tension both in the needle and in the bobbin. And in the bobbin, I don't use metallic thread. I will use either a polyester or a cotton thread in there, something that comes close to matching the color. But these will work. Some machines will have a special spool that you can use to put these tiny spools on, and with mine, I just will load one of my regular cones and then just pop this one right on top of the prong that comes through your spool. Just slip this on top, and that's how I do that. What to recommend is always do a test on your specialty threads when you're switching from one thread to another. Do a test on a sample. I keep a quilt sandwich handy, and even when I'm just changing bobbins, I will do a little test run to make sure the tension is the same and doesn't need to be adjusted. So these are the different threads that I use, and the bobbin thread I will use something that matches the color. With my variegated threads, I would use a solid thread instead of the variegated in the bobbin. I find something that matches close. And in my metallics, I would do the same thing. I would get a gold colored cotton thread or poly thread and use that in the bobbin. That's about all I have. The other thing that you can do is you can ask your thread companies if they have swatches that you can purchase from them. Some of them will have them and some of them won't, and that way you can kind of go through your samples here. These are true thread, they're real thread samples, and find the thread that matches your quilt and when you're ordering them. And it has a lot of information on it. It'll tell you what it's made of, what kind of cones it comes in, or spools, and some of them will even tell you what size needle they recommend. So I hope this gives you a little information on threads, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if so, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thanks for watching.